I want to capture the essence of Buddhism, how it's developed, the best I can. Of course, you cannot do it in 15 minutes, 10 minutes, but I'm going to give it a try. Especially for those who may not know much about Buddhism. This is one man's view, but I will start from how the Buddha was born and raised and went through this process for awakening and start teaching first. And then I want to talk about how the whole structure of the teachings are made and how I moved around the teachings over my life and how I gather the whole idea and where I stand and what may be the future for me. So it's a personalized view of how things happened. So the Buddha's birth, he lost his mother very young. So there may be some existential questions he may have had. He went out of the castle and found people suffering. Life is suffering. There are lots of, not just the physical, but the delusionally psychological problems he may have found. And then he noticed that there's a sick people, old people, aged, and the deaf. So how does he go through that and resolve it? That was an existential problem he had. He may have had the knowledge of some awakened person, so maybe that's just Indian custom at the time to be awakened. So he went through different teachers to practice meditation of this or doing the other very difficult things, not eating or whatever the case, what he has done. He was good at it, but he couldn't get to the resolution, the final resolution. So one day he decided to sit under the tree and thought that he wouldn't stand up until he is enlightened. So there's a determination. Not easy thing to do. I don't know how long he was sitting. I understand there was some lady who brought some milk every day or whatever the case may be. While he was sitting, he had to fight against all the delusionary thought. Maybe as simple as, why are you doing this? What's the chance? Or the past memory of good and bad and lure. But he was determined. One morning, after he was sitting all night, he saw the star in the eastern sky, and the light penetrated through his eye and his body. At the time, he may have felt that he felt transparent, and some life energy welled up, and he was enlightened. But the process was so difficult, he thought he cannot explain this, and there's no word to explain it. But after a while, when he met his friends, he explained, and they seemed to have got it, and that's the beginning of his teaching. Eventually, he came up with a system. But before the system, there are lots of stories, but one of them I remember is a lady who lost a baby for whatever reason and asked Buddha, if you are so great, fix my problem. And he said, okay, I can fix it, but you have to do one thing. And he said, go visit any house, anywhere, and find the house where there is no death. Then I'll teach you what can be done. I'll fix the problem. So this lady walked around thinking that Buddha can cure the problem. But of course it was not possible. she was awakened in a way that his effort was useless. But that was his teaching, specific to her situation. So his teaching is known at the time that it's specific for each person, and everybody feel like what his teaching is fit to their situation. But over time, what we have now is called Eight Noble Path. But the simplest form of that is Shila Samadhi Panya, right conduct, calm and quiet mind. You get the wisdom or insight, even awakening. Those three key elements can be like a circular, that you have the right conduct, have a calm and quiet mind, and have insight. And this new insight may become another right conduct, so that you can deepen your understanding of how to live your life. I'm not going to go into detail, but the Eight Noble Path has those three elements. The first part, maybe that's what he did. He could speak, but before that he should see what's going on clearly, himself, others, and have the wisdom of what to say with the right word, and taught them that you have to live certain way of living, diligently, sincerely, your work, whatever you do, and have right determination to have your mind calm, quiet, and then that will bring out the wisdom with the right word, right thinking, and continue that cycle. That is considered as the way of Hinayana for those who can be taught how to do what Buddha has done. And that process continued as one vehicle. Second vehicle, which could be the first vehicle actually, is the way that Buddha has found, which is almost like by accident. He tries this and that and sat determined and came up with the wisdom. So there may be a samadhi and panya corresponding to the first vehicle, but at the end, whether you get the big awakening or not may depending upon the circumstance. So it's called engaku. By accident, almost by the condition, you get awakened. Engaku is in Japanese. So that's the second vehicle, or the first one, whichever you were called. Then the third one is something probably happened a little later, in my guess, which is for those who are not equipped to go through the first vehicle because of lack of intellect or determination to sit and all of that. So the third vehicle is called the Bodhisattva's way. Not too much dependence on the teaching, but actual acting based upon compassion, something they can do. Give away what you do. Have a life that is basic and simple, and endure the difficulties, and then concentrate. Then the wisdom might come. So that's mainly possibly for many people who may not be so intellectually oriented. And that's called Bodhisattva's way. So those three are the three vehicles, they call it. From my point of view, born in Japan, actually I was not so much in a religious family, so it was a bit late, but I had the early age concern about how to live my life. At my teenage days, reading Blaise Pascal's thought pieces, Pensée, as if I found some darkness ahead of me to live my life. So maybe entertainment or work or something I can do, as opposed to looking into or facing straight into life's problem. But I had a sense that no matter how much money I have, the fame I have, it is useless. That was the realization I had at age 17 or so. But having that thought behind, I lived my way, whatever the setting and the condition and the circumstance of the society, to do certain work in certain way and establish my work and the way of life. But I had this other concern, spiritual, religious concern with me. So at age 30, I started to look into it. Then I have done some before that, meditation and studied, and that turned out to be more related to the first approach I mentioned. In fact, when I was at age 52, I had what I thought was the big awakening when I went through the 10-day Vipassana course of meditation. I'm sitting almost 12 hours every day without talking or having any contact with other meditators there. After that experience, I devoted my time to look more into materials that I had and confirm or understand what my experience was. But still, I faced some difficulties in life. And after the fact, I think it was natural. One single big event may not turn around your whole life. So there has to be a certain steady way of practicing, which I continued, and then deepen my understanding whenever I had time. Around that time, I also was interested in Shin Buddhism, which is less inclined to use the brain or intellect, but more compassion-oriented, such that Shin Buddhism promotes the idea of Bodhisattva or Amida Buddha, whose vow is to save people, even if you are a sinner or vicious person. The teaching itself was interesting, but most amazing thing was Myokonin, who had similar to a satori or awakening experience through Zen, as Daisetsu mentioned. And I believe also and figured out that the path of the first and this third one, which is more compassion-oriented, activity-oriented process, has the same ending part, which is wisdom and compassion become one. Different characters, personalities of people in the world. The depth of their concern, interest, determination, approach can be all different prior to your birth or how you are raised. There has to have certain level of difficulty to overcome those karma. And it requires more determination. So there may be a different level of wisdom, understanding, or compassion, to all the way to the very deep level of wisdom and compassion. As the phrase says, to know all is to forgive all. wisdom and compassion at the deepest sense. My approach has been the first one of Eight Noble Path and Shila Samadhipanya with meditation and Zen. And then I shifted also or combined with the third approach of Bodhisattva or Amida Buddha of compassionate sense, where you let go of yourself for the vow of Amida Buddha. So where I am is to make sense. Well, that may not be the right word, but trying to figure out how everything can be put together, not as a knowledge, but as an actual experience of how I live. I can talk more about it, but probably that's too premature. So let me conclude by saying that this is seen perhaps as one religion and three approaches, and people's preference, attitude, background, interest, determination, level of determination. The outcome will be different. But I'm totally fascinated, and given the difficulties and the hurdles to overcome, that is the nature of how we gain wisdom. If we don't try it, we may not understand deeply what this life is, what can be done. And if we have a sense of moving forward with this idea, whether it's Buddhism or part of Buddhism that you can pick up, it's your choice. And I'm hoping that whatever I have done may make sense in a way and give you some stimulation or interest in moving forward for your own and for others to benefit from.